Any station this net in Bimini, any station this net in Bimini, any station this net in Bimini. This is Elixir, 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 over. Hi, I'm Ron.
And I'm Marie.
10 years ago, we bought a broken down trawler for $4,000.
And nothing worked, not even the kitchen sink.
After a lot of hard work and help from our friends and family, we moved aboard Elixir full time. And now we are cruising this old boat while the work and fun continues.
So subscribe and give us a like and come along with us cruising this old boat.
Blue water marina, blue water marina, blue water marina. This is Elixir, 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 over. Bimini Big Game Club, Bimini Big Game Club, Bimini Big Game Club. This is Elixir, 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 over. Any station this net in Bimini, any station this net in Bimini, any station this net in Bimini. This is Elixir, 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 over.
We did a lot of bouncing around in the middle of the night, starting around 1 o'clock in the morning is when it got really rough. It had been really calm here before that, but we're dead in the water. Tried to pull up the anchor this morning because the waves are pushing towards Bimini, and we wanted to just drift further towards Bimini to be able to get better cell service. But the waves were so strong that when I was trying to lift the anchor, I mean, I took it easy, real easy. You know, when the waves lightened up, I pulled in some chain, but it got to the point to where I had, I think about maybe 25-30 foot of chain out, and I had, so the chain was going straight down, and every time I tried to pull it, or the waves, even if I didn't try to pull it, I had to keep letting the chain back out because the waves was bouncing the bow of the boat up, and it was not just pulling on the bow pulpit, but it was yanking the whole deck, forward deck. And the bow pulpit, the full deck, and Ron was standing on the deck. It was trying to lift up that whole thing.
All right, bring y'all up to date. Yesterday, as we were headed towards Bimini from Nassau, the night before we spent just anchored on the shelf, which was okay. It was a nice night. Yesterday we got underway, and about 15-20 miles from Bimini we started having engine problems. Same problem we had when we were headed to Nassau several weeks back, where the engine RPMs would just start fluctuating and drop in RPM, come back up, drop in RPM, come back up. And when it did that on the way to Nassau, I assumed, I mean, it seemed to me that the fuel filters were probably need to be changed, even though my gauges didn't indicate they need to be changed, but that's what it sounded like. So I'd gone down, swapped out the ray cores and the secondaries, and yes, they were all nasty dirty. So I put all new ones in, and we were fine, didn't have any problem. We went to the Exumas and went all over the Exumas, came back to Nassau, and no problems until yesterday. And started doing it again. So I said, well, I guess my Raycor has gotten clogged up again. So I went down and switched to the other engine, the other Raycor, and as soon as I did it, the engine died. So I said, well, I guess that one's dirty too. So I said, well, I'll switch to yeah. So I said, well, I'll just change out the Raycor. Doesn't take too long. So I changed out the Raycor, primed the engine. We got underway. We traveled maybe 5 minutes and the engine died again, and we could not get her to restart. So I said, well, I guess some of it got through and clogged up my secondaries, which take a little bit longer to change out, but I can do it. So luckily I still had one more set of secondaries on board. I don't carry as many of them because you don't tend to go through them as quickly as the Raycors, but I went down, I changed out the secondaries and tried to start the engine up, and well, actually I just tried to prime it and it wouldn't prime. And I tried and tried and tried. I've got a electric 12-volt DC fuel pump that I use to prime it with, and it usually primes pretty quickly, but it just was not priming. So I had to tear everything apart, and it's just like cascading failures. So it starts with the Raycor. I don't think my secondaries were bad this time. When I pulled them out, they looked clean, but I changed them just to be safe. But at this point, now I can't even prime them. And so I tore everything apart to check my fuel pump, the little electric fuel pump, and sure enough, it wasn't putting out any fuel. So then I tested, it had a check valve on it. I took the check valve off of the fuel pump, and I put a little funnel onto the fuel pump and put fuel on it, turned it on, and it just spit fuel out. So the fuel pump's fine. So I put the funnel on the check valve, and I couldn't get anything through. Now, to be honest with you, I've never tried that. I gotta hold this camera closer. I'm really exhausted, sorry. I've never tried that on a known good check valve, so I really don't know if gravity would be enough to bring the fuel through. Maybe some of y'all would know and can comment below. But no fuel would come through, so since I had nothing else to go on, I took a screwdriver, stuck it inside the check valve, and punched a hole through it. I needed the check valve on there because that was my fitting to hook the fuel hose to. Otherwise, I didn't have one that would go from the fuel pump to my hose. So I just punched a hole through it, put it back on, hooked it up, turned the fuel pump on, and it was spitting fuel everywhere. So at that point, we're good to go. I hooked all the fuel lines back up and primed the engine. It primed quickly, perfectly, beautifully, got it primed. Went up to start the engine and it wouldn't start. And just tripped the breaker. And tried it a few times and it just did the same thing. I said, well, I've seen this before when we were on the St. John's and our starter motor got hung up. So I said, well, I'll take the starter motor off and do the same thing I did when I was in St. John's, see if I can unhang it. So I took it all apart, got it down on the deck, hooked power up to it, and nothing. It's not even blinking. I took a screwdriver and rotated the Bendix. It rotated, so don't know what that means. Remember, I'm not a mechanic. I don't hold myself out to be one. But It did spin with a screwdriver, but when you apply power to it, nothing. I even tried taking a screwdriver and shorting across the solenoid, nothing. I checked for power to the starter motor. It does have 12 volts on the starter motor, but it's just not doing anything. So I have to assume at this point my starter motor is dead, and we're gonna have to replace it. But we're 12 miles east of Bimini. We spent the night here through all this troubleshooting I was doing. Last night was a horrible night, very rolly out here. It was not a night to be at anchor on the shelf. Everything was falling everywhere, clanking, banging. I don't think either one of us got much sleep. I know I didn't. And so after exhausting everything I know how to do today, and like I said, I think it's a starter motor. I don't have a spare on board. After the event in St. John's, I tried to get a spare. The only part number I could be given was from a Ford New Holland tractor supply, and I just hadn't had time to find one of those. I tried to order one from American Diesel, which is where we get our parts for our Lehmans, and he was out of stock, and they wouldn't be in till, he's probably got them in now. Doesn't do me any good. But so yeah, unfortunately we have no spare starter motor. So we have called our cell phone service here. We get like every hour we get 1 minute worth of coverage, and then it dies again. So we tried calling on the VHF radio to Bimini, which we can see. It's right over there. I can see it 12 miles from here, and nobody would answer. I tried calling any boat over there, nobody answered. So on one of those rare moments that we had cell phone service, I actually got a hold of a marina in Bimini, and they said they have no tow service there, and they don't know if Towboat US, which is our normal service, covers there. So at that point, we went to our inReach. Luckily, we keep an inReach on board, which is satellite communications. For those of you who don't know what that means, it's limited. We can send an automated message, so we have certain people that we can send a message saying we're underway, and that lets them know to keep an eye on our track. It sends a track out every 10 minutes telling our position, and then we can send an automated message at the end of the day saying that we're anchored, so they can quit paying attention to us. Beyond that, you pay a chunk per message. I'm not sure how much it is, but you can send text messages through it, and so that was our next recourse. So Marie sent out a message. It's her phone that's tied to the inReach. She sent out a message to some people that follow us and asked them to contact Towboat US to see if they will come here. And sure enough, they will. I was amazed. Thank you, Towboat US. They will come here. But maybe them trying to reach us, I don't know. But anyway, they called here and got one of those rare moments they could get through onto my cell phone, and so they have dispatched somebody from Fort Lauderdale, due to arrive in about 2 hours. I don't know what the sea states are. It's been at this point going on 3 days since I've been able to check the weather, but the last time I checked the weather, when we had good enough cell service to do that, it was going to be like a week. I mean, I couldn't see when the next good crossing was. I had 16-day forecast, and over the next 16 days, there wasn't a single day that was a good day to cross the Gulf of the Gulf Stream to get back to the States. So, but they said they can't tow us to Bimini. They have to tow us back to the States, and they're sending a boat to come get us. So we're like, okay, I don't know what the sea state's like out there, but I guess we're getting towed across the Gulf Stream. So I told Marie in the 2 hours before the towboat gets here, we need to put everything on the deck that can't be strapped down, tied down, or locked up somehow, because unless it's changed since the last time I checked it, it's gonna be real rolly going across. It's not what we would do voluntarily.
While we were rock and rolling in the middle of the night, I wanted to show you what Ron did to try to shut up some of the dishes. I was putting dishes out of the dishwasher away, and I just discovered this. Guess that worked. Helped anyway.
Just heard from Towboat US out of Fort Lauderdale, and they don't think they can come get us today because the Gulf Stream is supposed to turn nasty tonight. I was wondering, like I say, the last time I checked the weather, it didn't look good for about a week to get across. So I was kind of wondering how they're going to get across and tow us back, but apparently they started wondering the same thing. So anyway, that's the news at the moment, is that they can't come get us right now because it's going to get nasty, and we're going to be anchored out here in the middle of that nasty. So they are continuing to work on things. They haven't abandoned us. They're trying to figure out some way to protect us. So waiting on another call back. Thanks for watching.